Hello everyone, I am Dr. Pooja and today I will be recording some of the expected questions which can come in USMLE exam. So let's start up with the discussion of the questions. Let's see question number 1. A neonate develops a yellow discoloration of the skin and the sclera after birth. The condition worsens the following day. Appropriate therapy and supplementation has begun. So which of the following vitamin is the most required therapy for this patient? Now see, it's clear what you have to just see the question and you have to pick two important key points. One key point is a neonate is there. And if we look at the second one, it is yellow discoloration is there of the skin as well as the sclera. So it's clear it is actually neonatal jaundice. Or you can say it is physiological jaundice. So before taking up with this question, you should know a little bit idea about what are the factors which leads to jaundice. Now there is clear, there is an icterus index, which means there is yellow discoloration of the skin and sclera, either due to excessive hemolysis or you can say due to the obstruction, due to any hepatic damage, right? So first of all, we will just discuss about what happens, or you can say ki, what is the cause of jaundice. So if we have to see that, basically there is degradation of heme, right? And we know that hemoglobin is the pigment which is responsible for the transport of, it is a respiratory pigment. So, you know, half-life of RBCs is 120 days. So they are produced as well as they are degraded. So when the degradation of hemoglobin takes place, globin, amino acids, and what happens to this heme? So this heme is degraded to form, because you know it's an iron porphyrin. So it will give out, it will degrade. Iron will be stored and left is, it will be converted into biliverdin. This biliverdin will be then converted into bilirubin, which is a lipophilic molecule. Lipophilic molecule means it has an attraction with lipids, or it is not soluble in water. So what will happen is it will be carried from the spleen. I'll just write it like this. There will be a carrier protein which is actually responsible for the transport. So what will happen is this bilirubin albumin complex will be produced. Right? And what will happen is that once it enters in the liver, it forms, it undergoes conjugation in the presence of enzyme glucouronyl transferase, forming bilirubin diglucouronyl. And this bilirubin diglucourinoid will be then converted into urobilinogen and stracobilinogen. Stracobilinogen, right? So what I can say is, in this diagram, we can say that this reaction is occurring in the spleen and this reaction is occurring in the liver. And from here, it is transferred to the intestine. So before this bilirubin enters inside the liver, the type of bilirubin is unconjugate bilirubin. And once it enters inside the liver, it undergoes conjugation by glucouronic acid. So it is known as conjugate bilirubin. So basically in neonates, what happens is there is increased unconjugate bilirubin. So excessive hemolysis is there. Right? Now let's just see the question. What is the question saying? Question is simply saying that yellow discoloration is there. The condition worsens the following day and appropriate therapy and supplementation has begun. So which of the vitamin is the most required therapy? And the therapy which is required for physiological jaundice is phototherapy. And why we carry out this therapy? Because the purpose of giving this phototherapy to the infant is it will degrade. This light will degrade bilirubin into water-soluble products so that it can be excreted. So if we look at these options, this is vitamin C, this is vitamin B1, this is vitamin B2, and this is simple vitamin D. So only riboflavin is the vitamin which is actually destroyed by phototherapy. Right? So the answer to this question will be C. Because if we see ascorbic acid, niacin are water-soluble vitamins, no doubt, but phototherapy has no effect on this. Phototherapy is only going to destroy riboflavin. So the answer would be C. And this is a very good example, या you can say diagrammatic representation कि hemoglobin कैसे degrade होता है और unconjugate और conjugate bilirubin में क्या difference होता है. Unconjugate bilirubin को हम indirect भी बोलते हैं. Because the test, Vandenberg test, distinguishes between indirect and direct. Right? Now, the conditions that increases indirect bilirubin, which is nothing but which is unconjugate bilirubin. Hemolysis, Gilbert syndrome, Crigler-Najjar syndrome, and any damage to liver cells. It increases the concentration of unconjugate bilirubin. And if we talk about direct bilirubin, which is actually conjugate bilirubin, it will increase because of if there is obstruction in the bile duct. And if there is an obstruction in the bile duct, the color of the stool will be clay. It resembles the clay color. And then Dubin-Johnson syndrome is there, where there is black pigmentation in the liver, and the Rotor syndrome. So these are the conditions which increases either unconjugate bilirubin or conjugate bilirubin. And the test which differentiates between these two is Vandenberg reaction. Right? And basically what happens is, if we talk about neonatal jaundice, if the serum unconjugate bilirubin increases too much, because it is neurotoxic. So what happens is it leads to kernicterus. which is actually deposition of this unconjugate bilirubin in basal ganglia, which can produce lifelong complications in neonates who survive. And always remember, phototherapy, which is actually given to treat this physiological jaundice, destroys most of the vitamins, in which riboflavin is very important. So supplementation of riboflavin is important. So the answer is simple, riboflavin. Moving on to the next question. A strain of knockout mice in which the gene encoding phenylethanolamine and methyltransferase or PNMT has been deleted, which is used to study catecholamine synthesis. So the mice are stressed and adrenals are dissected and analyzed for catecholamine synthesis, the analysis of which of the following will be absent in the adrenal gland. Now see, first of all, we'll look up at this enzyme, which is phenylethanolamine methyltransferase. And now here we have to, just think of what are the reactions catalyzed by this enzyme. And if we look at the options are DOPA, which stands for dihydroxy phenylalanine, dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. So all of us know that these are derived from tyrosine. Tyrosine, which is derived from phenylalanine. So we'll just look at the metabolism, ki how this reaction occurs, then automatically the answer will be clear to all of you, right? So basically here what is happening is, if I write this tyrosine, undergoes hydroxylation. So hydroxylation means attachment of hydroxyl group. So it forms DOPA, which is dihydroxy phenylalanine, and the enzyme is tyrosine hydroxylase. Right? This DOPA then gives out carbon dioxide, which is decarboxylation, and the coenzyme is B6 or PLP. It forms dopamine. This dopamine undergoes another hydroxylation, which is dopamine beta hydroxylase. Right? It forms norepinephrine. And this norepinephrine then takes methyl group from S-adenosylmethionine, which is converted into S-adenosyl homocysteine, and it forms epinephrine. Right? Now here the enzyme is phenylethanolamine methyltransferase. So we can say that tyrosine forms DOPA, which forms dopamine. So first catecholamine which is produced is norepinephrine, and then epinephrine is produced. And what happens is, whenever we are under stress, epinephrine is released. Stress releases epinephrine. Right? Now what the question says, the question is saying that mice are stressed and adrenal glands are dissected and analyzed for catecholamine synthesis. So the synthesis won't be there because this is the enzyme which is required and it has been deleted. As you can see here, stress releases epinephrine. Epinephrine is actually produced from norepinephrine by this enzyme, phenylethanolamine methyltransferase. right? So here the answer will be simple, epinephrine. So the answer would be C. So the analysis of epinephrine will be absent in the adrenal gland because the enzyme expressing it has been deleted. Right? Is it clear? Then moving on to the next question. A local church sponsors a family from Somalia who wants to migrate to US. Upon arrival in US, the family was taken to a physician. Physical examination shows that the children are thin and very protuberant abdomens with large palpable livers. And these children would have the deficiency of which amino acid? Now see, 4 amino acids are given. This is simple a case of protein calorie malnutrition because the family is from Somalia who wants to migrate to United States. So whenever we talk about protein calorie malnutrition, we will talk about what? Essential amino acids. So if we see essential amino acids, how do we define them? Essential amino acids are those which cannot be synthesized in our body and they have to be provided from outside diet. And if we see the mnemonic is PV till 8P. And if we look at essential amino acids, simple: threonine, valine, tryptophan, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, phenylalanine, and methionine. Now, if we go to the options, you can see only leucine is the one which is an essential amino acid. Baki alanine, glycine, and proline are non-essential, which means they can be synthesized in the body easily. So there is no question of their deficiency. And you can see here physical examination shows that the children are thin. Because what happens is when these essential amino acids are absent from the diet during severe starvation, what will happen? There will be proteolysis. Proteolysis means degradation of proteins. Lysis, degradation of proteins. So skeletal protein is degraded, leading to the thin phenotype of the children. And as the protein malnutrition progresses, synthesis of albumin decreases. And when the synthesis of albumin decreases, it leads to disturbance in the osmolality and there is edema, a retention of the fluid. And that is why they have a protuberant abdomen, leading to protuberant abdomen. Right? So the question is this and the answer would be again C, leucine being an essential amino acid. Is it clear? The next question, a 45-year-old man comes to his physician for a routine examination. He drinks 5 to 6 alcoholic drinks in a day. And lab studies reveal blood glucose as 40 milligram per DL. So which of these alterations is most likely a consequence of this patient's alcohol consumption? Now see, patient is 45 years old, chronic alcoholic. Whenever we talk about chronic alcoholics, let's study what is the effect of alcohol on the body and what is actually alcohol metabolism. So see, what happens is this alcohol in the presence of dehydrogenase enzymes undergoes oxidation. Alcohol है, so it will be oxidized to form acetaldehyde, aldehyde, which is further oxidized to form acetate or acetic acid. Here the enzyme will be alcohol dehydrogenase, and here the enzyme would be acetaldehyde dehydrogenase. And what will happen here? This NAD will be converted into NADH plus H positive. And here also NAD will be converted into NADH plus H positive. Person is alcoholic. And if a person is alcoholic, what will happen? There will be increased ratio of NADH to NAD. Increased ratio. So what will happen, just to suffice it, just to compensate it, pyruvic acid will consume this NADH just to maintain it, NADH plus H positive, forming lactate. So what will happen is that there will be increased concentration of this lactic acid. And that is what the question says. If we go to the question, this is simple metabolism of alcohol. Now, if you see the question, you can see here 5 to 6 drinks he is taking in a day. But you can see if we see blood glucose, it is also less. Hypoglycemia is there. So what happens is there will be increased conversion of pyruvate to lactate because of the increased ratio of NADH to NAD. If we look at all the other options, the reaction is exactly similar to what occurs in alcohol metabolism. Suppose if we see this reaction, malate to oxaloacetate, you know that malate to oxaloacetate, the enzyme is malate dehydrogenase, and NAD is converted into NADH plus H positive. So what will happen is this ratio, increased ratio of this will decrease ketogenesis. Because pyruvic acid will be converted into lactic acid, there won't be conversion of acetyl coenzyme A. So ketogenesis will decrease. Similarly, gluconeogenesis will also decrease. And if gluconeogenesis decreases, obviously you can see the concentration of glucose. That is why it is 40 milligram per DL, leading to hypoglycemia. And that is what exactly happens, right? So this is the metabolism of alcohol, and the answer would be D here. Is it clear to all of you? Then moving on to the next question, a 1-year-old boy, whenever these type of case histories come, सबसे important thing is we have to see the age and then we have to see the features. Now see, a 1-year-old boy is brought to the physician by his parents due to severe hypotonia, weakness, muscular weakness. The mother of the patient says that he has difficulty in feeding because of dyspnea and fatigue. And if physical examination is done, it shows a liver edge about 5 centimeters below the right costal margin, and rales are heard on auscultation of both lower lung fields. Or if the X-ray of the chest is done, it shows cardiomegaly. And सबसे important is fasting blood sugar is within the normal range. So which enzyme can be deficient? Now see, if you look at the age, 1 year old, right? Then dyspnea is there. And the most important thing is hypotonia. And whenever we talk about, decreased muscular weakness is there, it is generally, and again, cardiomegaly is there. So cardiomegaly, hypotonia, these are the features of POMS disease. POMS disease, which is actually a glycogen storage disorder. And this is actually related to accumulation of this glycogen in the muscles. And the deficient enzyme is lysosomal alpha-1,4 acid maltase. Because all of us know that glycogenolysis occurs in the lysosomes also. Glycogenolysis occurs in the lysosomes also. So if this enzyme alpha-1,4 maltase, acid maltase is absent, it leads to type 2 GSD, which is POMS disease. And the most important feature of this is hypotonia, the most important, and cardiomegaly. Very, very important features. Right? And fasting blood sugar is generally within the normal range. If we look at others, so the answer is, first of all, let me just tell you, the answer would be A. Glucose 6-phosphatase is absent in von Gierke's disease. If we talk about glycogen branching enzyme, so glycogen branching enzyme is absent in Anderson's disease. And muscle phosphorylase is absent in McArdle's disease. All have different features. If we talk about von Gierke's disease में it is accompanied by 3H. Hyperuricemia is there, lactic acidosis is there, right? And hypoglycemia is there. McArdle's में it is related to muscular cramps. The person is intolerant to exercise. So just let's give a quick review of all the glycogen storage diseases. See, in von Gierke's type 1, this is the deficient enzyme. And the features are hypoglycemia is there, lactic acidosis, hepatomegaly, hyperlipidemia, hyperuricemia, doll-like faces, and protruding abdomen, emaciated extremities. Glycogen storage is normal. In POMS disease, glycogen-like material is there in the inclusion bodies. And the most important thing is cardiomegaly and muscular weakness, hypotonia. In Cory's, glycogen debranching enzyme is there and mild hypoglycemia, and there is hepatomegaly. In Anderson's branching enzyme, infantile hypotonia, cirrhosis is there. This is a very, very important feature of Anderson's disease. McArdle's simple muscular cramps, and the most important diagnostic feature is that there is the color of the urine becomes burgundy because of this myoglobinuria. And Her's disease, hepatic glycogen phosphorylase, where the glycogen structure would be normal. So here the answer is straightforwardly lysosomal alpha-1,4 acid maltase, and the disease is POMS disease. So these are some of the questions which I wanted to discuss with you people. So that's all. Good luck for your exam. And if you like my video, kindly like my channel, like and subscribe to my channel. And please refer it to your other friends also. That's all for today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.